Hi everybody, Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast on this Monday evening. With me tonight, we have a special guest, but I'll introduce him last. First up, as usual, we have Peter Ray Allison. Need you unmute yourself there, Pete?
Hey, how you doing? That was very professional, wasn't it?
Yeah. We have Mark Canty.
Evening up.
And finally, we have Greig Robertson, a.k.a. Darth Elvis.
Hot dang!
Wow. Right, so, everybody, how are we going? There's something going on in the background there.
How you doing, sir? How are you doing, Greg?
I'm very good, thanks. Very good. How's everyone doing?
Before we start here, we're getting a lot of background noise going on. There's like a fan or something. Oh, it stopped now.
Oh.
It stopped now.
Sorry, forgot my aircon thing's been running.
Yep. Okay. So yes, Greig Robertson, aka Darth Elvis. Tell us about yourself, sir. Who are you? What are you doing on this podcast?
Okay, so Darth Elvis is a Star Wars-themed Elvis impersonator, an act I've been doing since 2007. Idea was born in 2005. I got a painting for my birthday combining two of my loves, Elvis and Star Wars. And 2 years later, I did our first gig at Star Wars Celebration Europe in London in a Battle of the Bands contest, which was very strange to say the least. And from there, been gigging all over the UK, here and there in the US, and doing Star Wars themed Elvis songs and rock songs, Green Day and Neil Diamond and name it, Toto recently.
In the theme of Star Wars, Toto in the theme of Star Wars.
Yeah, so that was a collaboration I did with some friends of mine, Blues Harvest, who
I know them. Yeah.
Sci-Fi Weekender goers will be familiar with. So done a few gigs with them before, and we both were writing a version of Africa, and it wasn't until we started talking to each other about it, we both named the song Dagobah. So we're like, well, why don't we collaborate on it? We're going to both release the same song essentially. So we did. We collaborated on the lyrics and put that out in when was that? Start of the month, Empire 40 Day for Furthest From. So, but yeah, I've been playing all over the shop. Sci-Fi Weekender many times, and with Darth Elvis and the Imperials, my former band. Were previously known as Darth Elvis and the Tatooine Trio. Went solo, Darth Elvis, but now Darth Elvis and Friends is the new project I'm working on with lots and lots of different people. Andy from Blues Harvest is on the most recent track, along with Carl, who's my podcast partner in crime for Desert Planet Discs. So, yeah.
You mentioned the podcast before we started. What is the podcast? What's the podcast?
So I write and collaborate for Fanfare Tracks, Star Wars website. So myself and Carl, who's my co-host, we do Desert Planet Discs, which is a all Star Wars music themed podcast. So we play all sorts of parodies and covers of classic Star Wars themes. So a lot of Darth Elvis and Blues Harvest on there. Leroy, all sorts of stuff. So we do interviews with people who are involved with music, who have been influenced with Star Wars music or play Star Wars music. And yeah, just a good excuse to play some good Star Wars tunes and talk about the wars.
And what's it called?
Desert Planet Discs.
Desert Planet Discs. And
yeah.
Is it on like iTunes, Spotify, etc. like that?
Yeah, all iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. I think it's on YouTube. All sorts, pretty much every.
All right. Okay. Awesome.
Thing.
So, what? How did it all start? Were you just a general Elvis impersonator to start off with, or was it two things that just clashed together and became one simultaneously?
Yeah, it was. I'd never been an Elvis impersonator before. I played in bands since I was 15 years old, getting very old now, and the idea came. Obviously, as I say, I got this painting for my birthday, and I realised that Elvis died in '77, the same year Star Wars came out, and it kind of like came from there. Started writing. He didn't die. He turned to the dark side of the Force, and then all the song words just started popping into my head, and it's weird how I'll hear a song on the radio, and all of a sudden a Star Wars lyric will pop in my head, and that's me. I'm off. And I think the Darth Elvis and Friends guys that are involved at the moment were quite frightened when they're like, "Oh, send over some ideas of songs you've got, and we'll have a think about which ones to do first." And I sent a list of 50 ones which I hadn't performed with Darth Elvis and the Imperials, and I was like, "Yeah, I've got lyrics for pretty much 50 songs." So, and that goes from Elvis all the way through to like the Who, the Beatles, Ash, you name it. You know
What Ash songs do you do?
We haven't played one yet, but it's "Girl from Mars." Do you remember the time we torched Owen Lars?
Amazing. That's going to be good.
I remember I first saw you guys back in 2015 Sci-Fi Weekend in Fueli.
Yeah.
Now, the one track that always stuck in my head since then is your cover of Faith No More's "Falling to Pieces," as it was the Falcons falling to pieces. And that just stuck in my head for years. It's one track that I just keep going back to you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, where does the initial inspiration come from when you're kind of thinking, I could do a Star Wars version of that?
It's a mixture of things. Sometimes songs just pop in your head and you're like, okay, some lyrics just instantly fit nice and easy. Falcon Falling to Pieces was an example of that. And other times it's like, well, I love this band, I love this artist, or I love this song. Let's Star Wars it. You start thinking about songs that you know will go down well with a crowd, like Sweet Caroline's a bit of a sing-along tune, so Sheev Palpatine was born for that. And, it's a mix of things. Sometimes it's the artist you want to work on a song by. Sometimes it's a song like be a crowd favorite, and but like sometimes it's just the words instantly fit the song, so you're kind of like, oh, it's writing itself almost.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I found, like, I've tried describing Darth Elvis to people who've never seen you before, and they're just going, what? But then you see it, and it just clicks, and everyone who's seen you guys just has this mad gleam in their eyes where it's like, yeah, they're great. But I mean, how do you describe Darth Elvis to those who are, for want of a better term, uninitiated?
Ooh, you're right. It is tricky to kind of put into words what it is, and Star Wars cosplay, Elvis, rock and roll, parody, madness. High energy. Crowd participation, sing-alongs, and just party band. I just like, or party solo act as I am kind of at the moment. Just like to make sure people are up and dancing, singing along. And I think that's the good thing about Darth Elvis and Friends now. With the videos we're doing, we're putting the words onto the videos, so you can learn the words. The next time we're out gigging in the real world again, when that happens, you can learn the words and sing along.
So how are you finding, obviously, lockdown at the minute? Have you been doing any online gigs, or?
Yeah, I've done a few things. So initially, I didn't really have much of a home setup for recording, apart from my little podcast mic for the. So I was just recording. I bought a green screen, and then realised that in my conservatory, as you might see behind me, it's a bit dark, but I've got green blinds, so I've already got a green screen in the room. So that was a bit of a waste of money. But I started doing green screen stuff at home, was just recording onto my mobile with backing track and stuff. and putting out what I was calling isolation videos, grey star isolation videos. But I have since bought a decent home recording gear setup, which is how we're doing the Darth Elvis and Friends thing. We're sending tracks to each other online, recording, making videos up, and then popping that out there. So it's been weird. It's weird not getting a gig, getting out and gigging. I was meant to do a gig May 3rd, like May 4th weekend with Blues Harvest in Manchester, but unfortunately, obviously the pandemic hit and that got cancelled or postponed. It'll be reorganised at some point in the future, but yeah, it's been strange. I have done a couple of virtual things. As I mentioned, Sci-Fi in the City was mentioned earlier on. I did Empire 40 Day for Furthest From. I've got something on this weekend doing something with Leroy on, what's it called? Forcecast. Forcecast? Yeah, it's a big Forcecast. It's, because this weekend should have been Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim.
Ah, yes.
So, unfortunately, wasn't going to be attending that this year, but because that's not happening this weekend, this has been organised as Forcecast show. And there's all sorts of stuff happening there, interviews and music and good times.
Do you do weddings?
I've done a couple of weddings, yeah.
Amazing.
Not so much anymore. I was never fully comfortable doing weddings because, it's somebody's big day. You don't want to mess it up. And the first couple we did a wedding for, I think, ended up divorcing not long after. But the other
side, the force was strong with that one.
No, the force wasn't strong there at all. But the second one we got through being regular performers at Sci-Fi Weekender. And the couple, I think every time they always come to the weekend, they'd always have their Darth Elvis and the Imperials t-shirts on. And that was an honour to play. That was down in Telford.
Okay, cool.
Rightly. That was, yeah. We have done weddings, but probably not so much in my future. I think stick to the convention scene and.
Well, when next time you're in Manchester, because I'm Manchester based, so you should let us know, because I'd really be interested in coming to see. It's like when Pete told me, he's like, I'm going to get Darth Elvis on the podcast. I was like, who? And then he showed me, and I was like, this is amazing. This is so good.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Well, yeah, awesome.
We should hopefully be back. It's a Fab Cafe we were booked to play, so we should hopefully be back once things settle down, go back to normal, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
That's a great venue.
Yeah. Have you ever played, cause my band used to play Satan's Hollow, and have you ever been to Satan's Hollow before in Manchester?
Oh, don't think so.
It's basically it's like an alternative club, but it's made out to look like hell. So it's got this big statue of Satan in the corner, and it's got this massive sort of like crater, like volcanic crater in the middle, which is the dance floor with lights and stuff on it. It's really good for gigs and stuff because you're right in the middle, and the crowd sort of surround you. So it's quite interesting.
That sounds perfect for Darth Elvis gig, a bit of Mustafar action in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Mustafar right there, man. Definitely. 100%.
I think that's going to be the title of the first Darth Elvis and Friends album. I think we're going to call Hotter Than Mustafar.
Nice. Yeah, I've been following you online over the past few months, and you can definitely see a progression in your live casting. Like even the latest mall cut up. Yeah. Which just, I don't know, sound quality sounds different compared to a few months ago. Have you been kind of upgrading your setup or just learning what works best and what doesn't?
Yeah, so I was just doing stuff using my mobile phone before, which wasn't great. So I bought myself a USB interface thing and got a couple of mics, condenser mics and pop guards, the whole stuff. And I've got Pro Tools now, so doing my own, learning Pro Tools from the ground up. I've never used it before. I'm just a singer. I'm not, all the guitarists and the drummers, they're the guys who usually get involved in the techie stuff, and I just show up.
Typical singers, they just show up to get all the glory, while the rhythm section have to do all the work.
Exactly. Have you been having Skype calls with the other guys where they're going, "No, don't push that button, you idiot"?
Yeah. I think that's a good thing about being so far away from them, so I can't touch any buttons of theirs.
Oh man, I remember when we did our album many moons ago, and me and me and the other guitarist spent like weeks in there doing our parts. The bassist came in, did his within about an hour and a half, and then just kind of walked out. But the singers were in there for like a day and just moaned the entire time about things. And that's just like, we've been here for weeks. You just need to get it done.
What's been the reaction to Darth Elvis from your family? What do they make of Darth Elvis?
Well, they pretty much think I'm a nutter, especially my mum and dad. But I think they've got used to it. It's like, as I say, 13 years now. I've been doing it. So, but I've been singing, like I say, since I was 15. So it's a long time ago. My wife supports it greatly. Obviously, being away from, I've got 3 boys, so getting away from the family. Do gigs is good, but very supportive of that, and the kids like getting involved. My eldest, Elliot, does puppeteering and stuff. He started doing a little YouTube channel, and he joined me on Qui-Gon. What's it called now? My Qui-Gon Jinn, which is my Dust in the Wind Kansas parody. He joined me because he plays fiddle at school, so he mimed the fiddle part in that one. So I'm hoping to get the other kids involved. They've got Star Wars names, so they have to kind of get involved at some point.
What are the names then? What are your kids called?
So Elliot, the eldest, doesn't have a Star Wars name. We were quite sensible to start with. But middle son is Sebastian Han Robertson, and my youngest is Oscar Toby Kenobi Robertson.
Oh, no way. Quality. Brilliant.
You should have seen some of the faces when they read that out on the birth certificate. Oscar Toby Kenobi Robertson.
So I'm going to get away with that.
I'm assuming...
I got away with...
Sorry, Mark, you far away.
I got away with naming the cats after Mass Effect characters. I'm ever going to get away with getting any sci-fi names in the kids. The other half is definitely not a geek. She just rolls her eyes at me.
Yeah, I'm assuming your wife is party to the Star Wars obsession then, Greig?
Oh yes, yeah. Not quite as much as myself, but a big Star Wars fan, yeah. Just to watch them a lot.
Yeah, my girlfriend is definitely not into that sort of thing. It's definitely about fashion and fashion and makeup and hair, and that's her thing. She doesn't really understand the nerd stuff.
Give it time.
War of attrition.
One thing I wanted to ask, Greg, is like you've been doing Star Wars celebrations here in the UK and also a couple in America. What's been the reaction to the actors and actors? I know you met Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
What's been the reaction to like the cast to Darth Elvis?
So I met Mark Hamill. I didn't get too much of a reaction for that when I got a picture of him, and I met him to get an autograph, and nothing much from him. But when I met Carrie Fisher, that was God bless her, I miss her. But it was in Germany, and I also had my Darth Elvis gear on, and I was making sure my robe tends to follow my face quite a lot, so I was making sure I could see my face for the photo, and I got everything's all nice and smart, and I'm going to go and meet her. And so got called forward, next, and you kind of went up, and she went, "Oh, hi, Elvis," and she stuck her hand in my robes and then pulled me closer, and then my hood went, next. So it's quite a funny picture I've got. You can't quite make out it's me, but it's Darth Elvis, so that's the main thing.
She did have a bit of a reputation for being quite hands-on and dynamic, didn't she? When it came to the fans and the vendors. Yeah,
there's a few like that of the cast, but no, she was one in a million. Like nobody like her, but God rest her. No, it's I get some quite good reactions from them. I've been planting seeds with some of them as well for, you play instruments, come and join Darth Elvis and Friends for a song.
Yes.
So, watch this space. Who knows? You might see some Star Wars cast members popping up, hopefully, touch wood, in future Darth Elvis and Friend videos.
That would be nice. That would be very
Virtual
good.
collaboration's the in thing these days. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I suppose we're going to have to talk about this now. We've probably talked about this on numerous occasions, but as you're a new person on the podcast and stuff, so the new Star Wars trilogy, how do you rate them?
I've not heard. What was your opinions of them first?
Right.
I'm going to be. I might be the controversial one here.
Well, I thought Force Awakens was okay. I thought The Last Jedi was horrible. It was enjoyable, but it just wasn't right for me. I just didn't really enjoy it as much as I think I should. More because I don't think they portrayed Luke very well. And finally, I really enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker. I thought it was a really good swan song to the end of the series, so it kind of made up for the last one, because I think they sort of what's the word, they fixed a few of the issues that they might have had, I think, in the Last Jedi, I think, and it was just it just felt like a nostalgia trip come to an end. So my childhood, where I'd started watching Star Wars as a child, ended, and it was quite emotional for me. So I quite like that.
Yeah, I loved The Force Awakens, or say liked The Force Awakens. Obviously, it was a bit of a rehash of things in the past, but it was a good introduction to new characters and bringing the story back and the kind of whole kind of Star Wars vibe back. I adore The Last Jedi. I'm one of the big Last Jedi campaigner supporters. I love it to bits. It's for me, it's up there with Empire Strikes Back.
What? Really?
Yeah. Call me crazy. I would put that as my second favorite Star Wars movie out of all of them.
Whoa.
But I am a Rian Johnson fanboy from the start, from Brick all the way through to Knives Out. Always, I love them, but there is issues with it. I understand why people don't like it, but I just love it. I think the whole thing, Canto Bite, maybe a bit.
Completely unnecessary. You didn't need that part. You could get away that entire film without Canto Bite, and I would be like, yeah.
It was an opportunity to get lots of creatures in, a la Cantina, Jabba's Palace type of thing. I think and Maz's castle. But the thing I didn't like about that in particular was the special effects when they were on the I can't remember the creature's name, the horsey like things when they're stampeding through that. I was like, that is terrible. Come on. You can do better visual effects than that. That's the only bit that really bugged me.
What about Mary Poppins Leia?
I love that.
Really? Oh, dude, come on. That was fucking grim.
I love that.
No.
Carrie Poppins.
It was, oh, man, seriously. Like, that, it just, I enjoyed it to a point, simply it was Star Wars, but me and my friend has mellowed on his view on it. I've watched it once and have refused to watch it since, simply because I was that traumatized by it. But when basically Princess Leia, Mary Poppins back into the ship, we just looked at each other and went and mouthed, what the fuck just happened? And it was just like, and I appreciate in the new film, the last one, they sort of elaborated that she had been training with Luke, and that's why she was a Jedi, but at that point in time she was just a Force sensitive general, and I was just like, how the fuck has she suddenly escaped death and managed to float herself back into a bloody spaceship? And it's just like I couldn't reconcile with me, and the milking, Luke Skywalker milking that thing. I was like, what are you doing, man? And it's just like, it just, for me, and again, my friends sort of tried to talk me around about it, but I just couldn't understand it. I was like, come on, man, I don't mind a bit of comedy, but this is just ridiculous. It just seems to be comedy for... Yeah, got this.
Salty fish she's eating.
Yeah, those small things sort of irked me a bit too much out of it, and it was just like, because Luke for me is that, people argue that with him, he's lost everything, he's completely jaded by the entire thing, that's why he's acting the way he is. But it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, both happened, they lost just as much, if not everything, and didn't turn into basically puffy little bitches, and it was just like, and that annoyed me because Luke Skywalker was always the sort of like, you know, the strong one. As for me as a child growing up with Luke Skywalker, it just wasn't him, and it annoyed me slightly. You know, it just frustrated me.
We could probably spend the entire week discussing this, couldn't we?
I'm going to throw one more thing in here, and this basically, this is what, you know, if I turn this podcast off or not. Basically, what did you think of Rogue One?
Love Rogue One.
Yes. Okay, sir. We're good. We're good.
Yeah. I was ready to dive under the desk then and hide. I thought it was about to get messy.
Yeah,
Loved it.
That's. I'd probably say, obviously, as I say, Last Jedi is my favourite of the new films. But I'd probably put Rogue One second after that.
Yeah,
it's great cast, and this the whole film is just, you know, a beautifully self-contained little Star Wars story that obviously has connections to the others, but it's just fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Gareth Edwards, you know, it should get more Star Wars.
Big time. I just love that film so much. I have waxed lyrical about that film on numerous occasions, argued with people who try to tell me it's not, it's crap. And it's just like, it has like that Darth Vader scene in, you know, at the end. It's just like, oh my god, I feel slightly like something's just happened. It's so good. And like just the fact that there was no force powers really, it was literally just a war movie. It was just. It was something. Oh, I loved it. You know what? I didn't mind Solo as well. I didn't think that was a bad film. I thought Solo.
I didn't mind it when I finally watched it. It took me a while to get around to it, I must admit. I don't think it was the best thing they've done, but it wasn't as bad as people scream and shout about, though.
Yeah, it was definitely watchable.
Time. I think if they'd released it in December instead of May, it would have been a massive hit as well. I know people say it's because The Last Jedi, you know, split fan base, but I think it was just too soon after Last Jedi. I mean, it could be read in two different ways, but I think if they'd done it in December, like they'd done the other ones a year between each of them, it would have been a busier box office.
And it had, you know, spoiler alert if anybody hasn't, you know, watched Solo and stuff, you know, having Darth Maul at the end and stuff, you know, that's so good. You know, just like, you know, that they should have Darth Maul, because Darth Maul is possibly one of the best bad guys in Star Wars. You know, a completely underrated bad guy, and
it did set up for season 7 of Clone Wars though, and Rebels and stuff like that, where everything tied together.
Yeah. It was quite interesting coming out of the cinema because my pal James, who's a Star Wars fan, but he's the movies.
Yeah.
So he came out of that movie going, "What? Darth Maul? What? He got split. He's dead. He got split in half in episode 1. Why is he in this movie?" And they're like going, "Man, you got to watch the Clone Wars, spider legs, and all that good stuff."
Yeah,
Mad Crazy Maul.
Yeah, I think his fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi is it Rebels? Rebels,
yeah.
Yeah, Rebels. His fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's just like, yeah, that was good. That was a really good.
Oh, the one with Ahsoka as well, though. I quite like that.
Yeah.
At the end of towards the end of season 7, I think that was good. I saw a good meme the other day when someone was joking about the whole thing of the with Ahsoka sitting there looking really pissed off about everyone saying about Rey being the first fully realized female character in Jedi in Star Wars. She said, "Okay, seriously, guys, what about me? Hello."
Well, I think we've potentially got 3 new films coming out, which are going to be based on the Old Republic. Is it going to be the Old Republic? Or no? What? No. What's it? What? It's not the Old Republic. The High Republic.
The Old Republic's the new book series coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget the rumors that are splitting around at the moment that there may be 3 new films to replace 3 we've just been discussing.
Nope.
Depending where you look.
That has been completely denied. No, they're not. They're not redoing. They're not redoing the sequel trilogy. No, because that would be dumb.
Yeah, I don't think. You know, as much as I know, I don't think it's. You know, I don't think they're unwatchably bad. It's just like the first Force Awakens is for me just a rehash of A New Hope, but I still enjoyed it. Last Jedi has some very annoying parts for me, but I did enjoy it. Deep down, it wasn't something I wanted to walk out of and stuff. And the Rise of Skywalker was, I loved it. I think half my family, bar my mum who fell asleep, but because she's, that's what she does. She fell asleep during Lord of the Rings, but we were like, teared up and stuff because, like, for us, a Star Wars family who'd been brought up on Star Wars, that end, to the end to our basically our childhoods, was quite emotional. So it really sort of affected us.
How can you not like a film with Babu Frick in it? That's all I've got to say. He needs a spin-off movie. I kind of want a whole Space Monkey movie because Biston was my favourite from Rogue One, even though he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And I loved Rio Durant from Solo. And then Babu Frick's almost like a little monkey thing. It'll be ace. Like a Dirty Dozen
C-Team.
Space Monkey movie.
What has been the reaction to Darth Elvis by Disney?
I've never had anything through from them. I kind of, at one point when things started going, 4 or 5 years ago, I contacted Disney and I contacted Elvis's estate via emails, kind of sort of saying, this is me, this is what I do. Shut me down if you want. We love doing it. Can we, we want to keep doing it. So we put the feelers out there to kind of see, and I never got a response. So I was like, oh well, carry on.
Is there an issue though? Because it's covers, and covers aren't. If you're covering something, then there's different
Parody
rules.
is different though.
Yeah, parody's different. Copyright laws, certainly in the UK, are different in terms of parody. You're fine for that. So putting your music on things like Spotify in the UK is fine. I think even Apple Music in the UK. I think in America it's different. You need like mechanical publishing rights and songwriter rights and stuff. But yeah, parody laws in the UK. Well, if Lucasfilm, if I got a letter through the post from Kathleen Kennedy saying, cease and desist, I'd be like, yay!
Seriously, we got
on the Facebook. I'd be framed on my wall. I was like, oh, what a way to go out. They found me. They discovered me. I made it.
Yeah, well, it was like Geek Pride got a cease and desist from Square Enix, and because back in the day we used one of the Space Invaders as our sort of like our sort of logo. And I got a letter through the door from Square Enix basically saying you can't use that logo anymore, cease and desist. I was like, yes, this is amazing. So we changed it, but I was just like, I got the letter and I was like, oh, our first cease and desist. This is awesome.
They know we're alive.
Yeah, we're on the radar. If you're on the radar, then you must be doing something good, basically.
I've got an NDA letter from Lucasfilm, which is like I need to get printed off and stuck up on the wall. Because, but one day I'll get around to doing it. I haven't done it yet, but...
Okay, can you allude to it without saying what it is?
Let's say the last movie I visited a couple of sets.
Ooh.
Ooh.
One was a planet and one was a very famous spaceship.
Ooh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
We have no idea what you're talking about.
I know a guy with a canvas printer. If you want me to put you in touch with him, so you can have it printed out at like A1 size on canvas.
I've got a canvas print in my hallway of a picture I got done on the set that day with it was the stunt Chewbacca, and BB-8 and R2-D2.
Oh, nice. So how come you're on the set?
I've got friends in high places. I've got a pal who worked in the creature effects department in the kind of hair, creature hair.
So Chewbacca.
Yeah. Oh, one of the he punched all the hairs into the Chewbacca suits. So it was one of the many jobs he did.
Oh man!
And the Faviers, that's the horse-like creatures. Faviers.
Ah, yes. So what was it like there on set? I mean, what?
So I was very surprised that they didn't take your phone. I kind of expected to have to go in and your phone was confiscated, but I was a very good boy and didn't take my phone out. God, I wish I didn't want to get carried off the set. We visited a planet where you meet a certain character. Hey, was the planet, And the famous spaceship. I'll just say I went into a building and a door was opened for me, and I went through, and I stepped onto a ramp and I started to cry.
Wow.
I can imagine.
Didn't stop for about 5-10 minutes.
Oh man, living the dream. Living the dream.
Yeah.
Fall to your knees crying.
Well, yeah, at least, what was it? I remember this would have been before the first, The Force Awakens came out. And Ben Fee, one of the guys who does some stuff for us now and again, he was at a wedding in Ireland where they were obviously filming some of it, and a drunken member of the crew came in and was in the bar that the wedding was in, and got super drunk and proceeded to tell him about what was happening in the film, including the death of Han Solo. And Ben's like, what? And he's just like, yeah, man, Han Solo gets killed and blah, blah. And he's just like, are you fucking serious? And he's just like, yeah. And we posted about it, and we did this, before it came out, we said, look, this is a potential spoiler. It's a very big one. Once you read it, you're not going to be able to unread it. And we posted it up ages ago, and we got absolutely lambasted for it, because it was just like, that's not true, they would never do that, that's not gonna happen. Reddit ripped us to shreds, basically, with people going, that's bullshit, that's never gonna happen. And then obviously it did happen, and then the Reddit post was closed down, surprisingly. And it's just like, all right. Well, yeah, I would have loved to have gone onto a stage and stuff. The closest I've got to anything authentic is I went to with the Star Wars Weekender. For the Love of the Force. That's it. I was at a dinner with the stars, and I sat beside Prowse. So basically, Darth Vader. I've got a photograph of him, and I was just like, I was like, oh my god. And I didn't even know what to say to him. I was just like, "Oh my god, you're like Darth Vader and stuff." And I got a photograph with him. And Brian, what is it? This is Brian Johnson, who did special effects for Empire Strikes Back. He signed, I have this awesome diorama of the Hoth battle scene with AT-ATs and stuff, which, it was an auction for charity and stuff, and I was just like, I'm all over this, and I got it, and he signed it for me, and I've got him, a photograph of him and this is like, oh my god, this is the best thing I ever owned. It's just this Hoth diorama with his signature on it. Quality, so good. What's your best bit of Star Wars memorabilia?
Oh, tricky. I'm a big autograph collector, so collect Star Wars autographs and Bill and Ted autographs and some horror autographs. But I think the best thing I have is again a gift from my mate. For when I got renewed my vows in Vegas a couple of years ago. And he got me a wedding gift, and it was a Canto Bite poker chips.
Wow!
From the movie, and I've got a Canto. I've since then got a Canto Bite playing card thing, which is, and another couple of poker chips. So I think probably those, and I've got a signed picture of Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill in my living room. So that's probably
nice. I've got a few friends, a guy called Mark Cox, who the first ever interview Geek Pride did many moons ago, which didn't turn out very well because my microphone died halfway through it, so I had to phone him up again and ask him to do some extra. But he is a massive Star Wars fan, to the point where he and a bunch of guys went to Lars Homestead in Tunisia and rebuilt it. So basically, it had been destroyed over 20 odd years of neglect, and they went over and they rebuilt Lars Homestead in the desert, and they did this, they filmed it and everything, and he sent me a chunk of Lars Homestead. So I've got a bit of Lars Homestead, and I've got Tatooine sand and I've got some bits of Mos Eisley and stuff like that, just little bits of rock and things like that, and little bits of sand. It's like, if anybody looks at it, it's literally a bit of rock and some sand and stuff, but it's just like, but that's Mos Eisley, and that's Lars Homestead.
Yeah, exactly. You know what it is.
Yeah, and I'm just like, these are the best things. Some friends of mine got married, and I did the photography for them, and I got stormtroopers to like turn up for their wedding and stuff, and I gave them some of the sand and stuff. I was like, you'll appreciate this. This is Lars Homestead stand, or this is, and things just like, oh my god, this is the best thing. And it's just like everybody else just looked at it like, what the fuck? It's just a bag of sand. It's like, you don't understand. It's not just a bag of sand.
But it's coarse and it's itchy and it gets everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, Star Wars has obviously, with the films, become pretty big over the past few years. But I mean, it's also become much more kind of, fun about the term, transmedia element to it. You've seen a lot more kind of Star Wars affiliated content. I mean, like, there's a lot more like, there's Darth Elvis, but there's also like, there's Galactic Empire now and Blues Harvest.
Yeah.
How come we become much more kind of musical element?
Say that again, sorry?
So how come there's such a now much more musical element to the fandom around Star Wars?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think obviously there's always been people out there doing like Weird Al Yankovic doing parody songs, and
there's a bit of Filk as well, isn't there?
Sorry,
Filk as well, kind of sci-fi fan songs is the best way to I can think phrase it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's been bands for a few years. Bands like you got High Adventure in the States, and as I say, Weird Al, and you had like obviously parody stuff happening on like Saturday Night Live with Bill Murray, and so there's always been music out there. I guess the con scenes kind of helped move things along. You're getting a lot more kind of geek content and the geek musicians like like Leroy oh god, what was that? Oh, there was a great band played at Weekender a few years back, and it was they played all game songs, stuff.
Yes,
they were fantastic.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I completely blanked on their name.
There used to be a hardcore band that I used to listen called Horse the Band, and they did sort of kind of retro gaming type hardcore songs, and they were awesome. I just love them.
Yeah, I think the fact there's so many conventions now. There's a few big players back in the day, but now most of the big cities in the country have a convention, and obviously in the States it's crazy, and there's a desire out there for more geek content. The geek will inherit the earth, and getting some geek music out there, it was important. So happy to be out there flying the flag for the geeks.
Well, it's definitely sort of, I think maybe with the advent of social media and with, there being a lot more geek-related films out, that geek culture has maybe hit the mainstream slightly to a point. Some people don't understand it, like my girlfriend doesn't understand it, but, it seems to be more... more, well, not normal, but not as sort of niche as it used to be. If you want to go niche, you have to do Warhammer 40,000 like me and Mark. That's still pretty niche.
Not as niche as Carnival or something like that.
There must be a Warhammer 4000 band though, because I mean,
there is Bolt Thrower.
Bolt Thrower.
I was waiting to say back today, Bolt Thrower, a metal band.
Bolt Thrower,
that's been back a long
old school 40k.
Yeah, and they had 40k sort of like artwork and stuff like that on their things, and they actually were in some of the old school like games you used to get from the early PC games. They had Bolt Thrower music in them as well. Yeah.
Do you find like the technology is making music easier, like for the general public?
It's definitely making it easier to get out to people. And it's easier for people to record stuff at home. So obviously back in the day, you used to go down to a recording studio with your pocket money or your hard-earned, from your job, and pay somebody to do a recording for you. But now, you can record on a laptop. You don't need, expensive equipment to do it. You can do it quite cheap and cheerful. So a lot of DIY, the good old DIY punk. Idea of music. So
like I think we did our first
good to studio, but being able to just rock stuff at home, especially when you have bandmates all over the country. So Andy, who's the drummer in Blues Harvest and does stuff with Darth Elvis and friends, he's in near Manchester, and Carl, my partner in crime for the podcast, who does drums and percussion and stuff, he's down in, where is he? Near Birmingham, I think. So, and obviously I'm in northeast Scotland. So,
okay.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's good it creates opportunities for working with people all over the world. So you don't have to be abandoned in the same room anymore. You can branch out and be all over the world pretty much, which is cool.
Right, yeah, well, tell my band that we haven't practiced in since lockdown basically, and it's just everybody's using it as an excuse. Oh man, we can't practice. Oh well, we should really do some stuff, but yeah, well, there you go. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, you've played some pretty big events, but which event would you like to play most that you haven't played yet?
There's a couple of gigs I've always wanted to do, and I've I sort of said to myself when I get these gigs, because you got to dream and think when I get this gig, I would love to play Skywalker Ranch.
Oh yeah,
yes.
or Lucasfilm in the Presidio or something. I'd love to do that. The other thing I always wanted to do was get a gig at the Rap Party.
Oh yeah.
So I had plugged away at that for a while. Not happened yet, but many years of Star Wars still to come.
You should try and do like San Diego Comic-Con or something, man. Try and get, even if it's in one of the bars in and around there and stuff, because obviously all it takes is for somebody who's sort of to do with that to notice, and then you're in the door and stuff, and it's fucking amazing. Have you ever been to San Diego Comic-Con before?
No, it's one. Obviously, like San Diego and New York Comic-Con are two cons I've not been to that I would love to go to. So. If you're listening, anyone from San Diego, New York Comic Con,
you should do it, man. It's
Darth Elvis is available.
San Diego, and the thing is, they have like bands and stuff because like the whole city's taken over, and we used to go to a place called Henry's Pub, which is sort of in the Gaslight District, and I'm pretty sure they have bands and things like they had karaoke and stuff, and you could totally do that. And since there's so many people there, yes, it'll be brilliant. It'll be so good. Definitely worth it.
Hopefully that will come up one time. I know people who organise events over in San Diego, and yeah, touch wood. I'll start massaging them. Going, oh, you okay? You need to get.
And then you can go off to Vegas afterwards, man. You could do, good Darth Elvis in Vegas.
Well, I had renewed my vows in a place called the Graceland Chapel in Vegas. It was the 10th anniversary a couple of years ago, and I told the Elvis impersonator guy, obviously, said, I believe you're an Elvis impersonator. And I was like, yeah, I'm Darth Elvis, and explained what I did. And he was like, no way. I gave him my CD, and I was like, oh, thanks very much. And he that was it. Cheerio, see you later. And we went out the side of the building to get some pictures taken in front of they've got like replica Graceland gates. So we went to get some pictures out there. And the door at the side of the building slams open, and out comes the Elvis impersonator just married us and went, oh my God, I've just listened to some of your tunes inside and they're amazing. He's like, and he started jamming with me outside. A couple of songs outside together. That was
nice. One thing I've been meaning to ask is, which came first, Elvis or Star Wars?
It was Star Wars, yeah.
Okay.
Born in the 70s. I was born after Star Wars. I'm a 78 kid, but just grew up with Star Wars, obviously watching the VHSs and then getting to see Jedi at the cinema and playing with the toys from as far back as I can remember. So it was Star Wars first of all, adult, and then kind of probably in my teenage years, I've been I'd heard of Elvis before, but I think it was probably when I was a teenager that I started to actually give more attention to him, and it was when I saw the 68 special that kind of like was like, ding! It's like, oh my God. He looks so cool.
Do you have a Star Wars parody of In the Ghetto?
I used to do one called In the Empire, yeah.
Oh, I love that song. It's like one of my favourite Elvis songs.
I don't think we ever recorded it. I don't think we ever recorded it. We've played it live quite a few times, but it was one that I was like, yeah, I need to rework the lyrics, so I wasn't overly happy with it.
So. You've done quite a few songs that you play on stage, but you don't kind of record for CD, do you?
Yeah, so like you said earlier on, Faith No More Falling to Pieces is one that
Love that track.
we played it live a few times in the early days, and then it dropped off probably around 2016 when the album came out, or the album came out in 2017. But before the album came out, we were writing all the album songs, so that kind of dropped off. But it's still on my list. That was one of the list of 50 songs I gave to the guys.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
But I think Andy, he kind of color coded my list. He's like, greens, yes. Amber's, maybe. And red's like, no. And I think that might have been on the no list because just because I don't think he knows the song. I think that's the main reason there were some reds.
Yeah.
It's like, listen to it, man. You'll dig it.
Yeah.
Mike Patton was my first singing hero. Because, oh my God, man has pipes.
He does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then as a music taste developed, it was Jeff Buckley and The King. So, but Mike Patton was my first kind of vocal hero.
Yeah, Mike Patton.
Have you ever had a chance to see Faith No More live?
I have, yeah. I've seen 3 times, and I was meant to see them in June.
Oh my God!
I've seen Peeping Tom, and I've seen Fantomas.
Oh wow!
Yeah. He did have another band called Tomahawk. Was it Tomahawk?
Yeah, Tomahawk. So I never had the chance to see Tomahawk. I saw Faith No More on a album of the year tour. I saw them when they made their comeback at Download, and then I saw them I think a few months after that in Edinburgh. But I was meant to see them in Glasgow in June when the lockdown obviously scuppered that idea. Bloody COVID.
Yeah. He did some stuff with Dillinger Escape Plan years ago as well, didn't he? They did was it Come to Daddy? They did a cover of Come to Daddy, I think, by Aphex Twins, which is really good. Dillinger Escape Plan version, but he does the vocals on it and stuff, and it's just like, it's mad. The guy's just so versatile. He's just, he can do everything.
It's hard to keep track of what he's doing because he just does so much stuff. It's like soundtracks, and I mean, I Am Legend. He's the voice of the creatures.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was also the voice of the Scorpion King screams in the second Mummy film.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think so. I'll have to do. But he does a lot of kind of audio. But it's not voice work; it's audio work because he's not speaking; he's just screeching.
Yeah.
But he's got such a unique voice and vocal ability that it's in demand.
He's got an album called a solo album called Adult Themes for Voice. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's just.
I quite like Mr. Bungle as well. Did you ever listen to Mr. Bungle?
Yeah, I love Mr. Bungle.
Yeah, Mr. Bungle.
They've got a new album in it as well. So.
Oh, okay, right, nice.
Yeah. But the Adult Themes for Voice, it's interesting. There's lots of screams and just body noises and.
Okay.
We're going to kind of go steer off the Star Wars related things simply because it's something that's sort of happened recently. But all the DC Fandome stuff, have you seen any of that coming out with?
I did, and I'll start off by saying I wasn't against Robert Pattinson getting the part because he's a great actor. I mean, yeah, he's in Twilight and that they are garbage, but so sorry if there's any Twilight fans out there, but my wife made me watch them and I wasn't digging it.
Deepest sympathies.
He's a very good actor. So I was like, yeah, I can see that. And I was quite, the only thing I don't like about the trailer is I'm not sold on the cowl. I don't mind the suit, but the cowl, I don't know, something, it reminds me of the Ben Affleck Daredevil mask.
Yeah, it does. Actually does look like a Daredevil mask, to be honest.
Around about the eyes, just doesn't sit right with me, and maybe the ear size. But no, I really like the trailer. The trailer's really cool. Justice League. Anything's an improvement on the Joss Whedon one. I watched that on a plane. In fact, I watched it on the plane on the way to Chicago for a celebration, and oh my god.
Yeah, we've talked about it numerous times and stuff, and it's just like, Ben Affleck, I love him as Batman. I think his Batman is absolutely amazing, but it's just like they just didn't do it any favors, and it's a shame. And apparently the new Justice League is going to be in 4 separate episodes. It's going to be 4 1 hour sort of episodes effectively, which should be interesting. But yeah,
and the what's it called? The Suicide Squad season debut for that. I'm quite intrigued by because there's
so many characters.
I think they're trying to do an Avengers. Like the Avengers Endgame style scope, but with characters we haven't really been introduced to yet. So how they're going to manage introducing so many characters and then giving them all a suitable character arc?
There's no Deadshot. No Deadshot.
Within 2 hours.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising.
No Deadshot.
It was.
I didn't mind Will Smith as Deadshot. I didn't mind the last. No. I don't think it was the best sort of superhero film, the last sort of Suicide Squad, but I didn't mind. I thought he was quite a good Deadshot, so it didn't sort of.
Have you seen the Harley Quinn movie?
No, actually, Birds of Prey.
I quite enjoyed that.
I haven't seen it yet.
I wasn't a fan of that one, but
no?
I'm quite intrigued by I think Suicide Squad will be good based on James Gunn's work on the Guardians movies. They were, characters you weren't familiar with, really. I mean, I'd never read a Guardians comic before, so I wasn't aware of any of the guys. But I'm excited for what he does with Part 3. So I'm quite excited to see what he does with Suicide Squad. I reckon it'll be another great James Gunn movie.
Yeah. Oh, is he actually going? Is he doing a third Guardians of the Galaxy film?
Yep.
Yeah, he got back. There was a massive, what's the word? There was a massive sort of hoo-ha. Backlash, yeah, that's it. Basically, when he got canned off and everybody was just like, why? And why he's back. Mark, you look like a evil Bond villain at this moment in time.
Well, it's one of those things where I could have said no, and there'd have been live-action bloodshed. You may think I'm joking. Not long after we got this young lady here, this is Tally, by the way. Her brother is Rex, so if you're into Mass Effect, you'll understand that. Just after we got her, something made her jump while she was having cuddles, and she jumped in the air. I'm not entirely sure how, but her back foot, she lacerated my earlobe on that side, and it didn't stop bleeding for about an hour and a half. So she's a home defense cat.
Yeah, I've got a home defense puppy called Poe.
Poe? Nice. What sort of dog is it?
Star Wars names,
What sort of dog is it?
Jack Russell.
Okay, cool.
He's a very well behaved Jack Russell.
I've got a Tibetan Mastiff called Boromir. So he's a big lad. He's a pain in the ass, though. So back to the DC stuff. What about the games? Did you see any of the Arkham Knights games and what was
Arkham Knights one and Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Kill the Justice League.
Justice League. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. That
I like the idea of play as Nightwing and Robin.
Yeah, which apparently it's nothing to do with the Arkham Knights, the Arkham Knight game. Apparently, it's a different timeline than it. So it doesn't carry
8,423.
Yeah, it's apparently because in the last one, it sort of alludes to Batman. Again, spoiler warning if you haven't played it or whatever. Alludes to him dying. And this one starts off with that point, but apparently they're completely different timelines, which is odd. So I'm not sure, but apparently Suicide Squad game is the same timeline and the same time. It's just in a different city, which is weird. So yeah, but
how about Black Adam?
Oh, Black Adam, yeah. It'll be interesting to see because originally he's just a bad guy, but in the sort of more recent iterations, he's a bit of an anti-hero. So I'm wondering if they're going to have him as an opponent to Shazam, or as like a Venom sort of character.
No.
So
I think it will be interesting to see more than just a story, an animated storyboard.
Yeah, well. Yeah. And I watched Venom the other day. I hadn't seen it because I was a bit iffy about it and stuff. It wasn't too bad. I thought it was all right. It's just I think it would have been better if it was R-rated, sort of a la Deadpool and stuff. But if they do Carnage, if they do a second one with Carnage in it, I reckon
they can't not have that R-rated.
Yeah, it has to be R-rated and stuff. So
there's a second one coming, isn't there? It's out next year, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Andy just did it.
Did Venom come out before or after Deadpool? After. Yeah.
After.
You thought they would have sort of learnt that R-rated superhero films work. They work, and they should have gone that, but they sort of shied off a bit with it. So kind of.
I think Sony still get the willies a little bit, don't they, about certain things when it comes to the superhero side of things. They still hadn't quite got the hang of how they were supposed to be using the stuff they had. So they were still kind of over-guessing and second-guessing themselves a bit.
Yeah. Talking about sort of Venom-esque films, my brother, if you've got Netflix, there's a film called Upgrade on Netflix. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's it's basically same premise in that there's a guy, he gets an implant, and it basically is like an AI that talks to him. And he spends a lot of the time arguing with this sort of AI that's in his body, but it's really good film. So it's called Upgrades on Netflix. Got a good twist at the end as well, so definitely worth a watch.
I'll add that to the list. The ever-growing list on Netflix and not so much on Prime, but Netflix is.
You've got what's coming out on Friday. We've got Cobra Kai, 2 series of Cobra Kai coming out on Friday. Then we've got the new on Amazon. We've got Boys season 2 to come out. Yes, season 1's amazing. I've not read the comics, man, but like the series was fabulous.
They're already teasering season 3 as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
With a certain Jensen Ackles.
Yeah.
Yes, as their Captain America knockoff.
Yeah.
Soldier Boy or something he's called.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Basically, it's basically riffing on the whole Captain America. Yeah. What if Captain America was a coward?
Yeah.
They pull Garth Ennis pulls no punches in his comics. If you get the chance to read the comics, read them. They're not brilliant. He's trying too hard to outdo himself from after Preacher. But the premise is just fantastic.
Yeah,
I still haven't finished watching Preacher actually. I think I got to a bit. I didn't get to the very end of it and stuff.
Really, just finish about halfway through the last season, because the last few episodes are just a rush of them trying to resolve all the different storylines, and it just lacks payback. It just lacks a satisfying conclusion because they're just rushing too much, and it's just.
I don't know why do people do that? Why do they when they have these series like Game of Thrones and obviously Preacher and numerous ones where they'll have like these elaborate stories and then they just sort of push it at the end. I would rather it ended on a cliffhanger.
That is down to industry practices, where basically they don't have a set deal of how many seasons they have. They basically just start writing until at some point the distribution company say we're cancelling it. So the production companies will say we're cancelling this.
The Babylon 5 effect.
And they're then left with the task of, okay, we've got X number of seasons written. How do we resolve all these different plot threads? And that's why we have the kind of instances like with Preacher, where they kind of had all these epic storylines and suddenly had to kind of tie them all up. And like basically I think Lost was a case of they had this initial idea, kept going, and then in the end they had to negotiate with the distribution company. This is how we are going to end it. We can't keep writing this mystery and not have payback. We need to start giving answers.
Yeah.
And basically, right, we are going to end it after X number of seasons, and we are going to give answers. But yeah, that's what go on.
I never with Lost. I enjoyed it, but I only got up to like series 3, and then it moved to Sky 1, and at the time I didn't have Sky, so I didn't watch any more of it. So I never I know what happens now, but I never found out what happened sort of at the end of it and stuff like that. But
More
apparently,
fake than I did then.
I think the people that watched it don't quite get what happened at the end of it.
yeah,
I
heard
watched
that.
all of it. I have no clue. Well, no, I don't have any clue what happened. I just, it's. I think I'd probably figure it out. Sorry.
I keep meaning to rewatch it all because, it's in need of a rewatch. But there's just so much TV content out there to watch at the moment, and it's like it's just too much. I can't keep up.
No chance.
No, never.
What are you watching right now, sir?
We've just started. Well, we're in season 3 of Handmaid's Tale, which is something I hadn't watched before. So watching that, I need to start watching the new Legends of Monkey season 2.
Oh,
It's no monkey magic, but it was quite good the first season, so I need to watch that. What else have I been watching? Narcos Mexico.
Yep.
But I'll be tuning in for The Boys season 2 definitely when that kicks off. And I started watching Cobra Kai on YouTube, but I think in the end I'd have to pay for the subscription in order to see the rest. So I haven't seen it, so I'll be watching that for sure.
Yeah. I watched the free episodes on YouTube, and then it was like you have to pay for the rest. I was like, no. So I'm
Pay for
glad.
too much.
Yeah, so I'm glad it's on Netflix. That'll be good.
Have any of you watched Project Power yet? I don't think you had last time when it first came out.
I've seen trailers for it, but I've not watched it.
It's Jamie Foxx, isn't it? That one. Is that
Yeah.
yeah.
Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's popped
It's
up.
basically what if superpowers were given as a drug or something, isn't it? Is that the basic premise?
It's like a drug, is a chip that activates like a latent superpower based on like really weird derivations of extreme farm animals. So you can take the drug multiple times, and it lasts for about 10 minutes. It has the same effect for you, but doesn't have the same effect for each person.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good. Yeah, it's your standard sort of secret sort of experimental thing going on and that sort of stuff. But it's all set down in New Orleans, and it's pretty well done.
Okay.
I watched what did I watch recently? I've forgotten the bloody name of it now. It's basically a 6-part series about old school computer games.
High Score.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. I started watching it very briefly the other day. We'll get back to it.
Yeah, it's actually really good. It is really good. So like, it has the whole Sega Nintendo war thing, and I was like, oh my god, I was a part of that. I took this, and it's like you were either Nintendo or you were Sega, and I was like, I was a Sega boy. That was me.
It's very much in the same vein as the toys that made us and the films that made us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which have been great for the whole nostalgia jag.
Yeah. But it's just like this how they like, they sort of like, there was this guy, I can't even remember his name in the series, but he's an astronaut and he's an explorer and he's a million different things, but he created one of the first sort of RPG games and stuff, and he did it on like a printer type thing in school, which, so he did things, and it would move. The printer would sort of print things out, and it would tell him where to go and stuff. And it was just super interesting. It was just really good. And I was just like, yeah. And this shows you like, how far we've come for games these days.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, we were willing to make do with 2 colours and a couple of bats and a dot.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we want immersive real worlds, smell-o-vision, VR, the lot.
I don't know, man. VR makes me feel slightly ill. Like I had a date once at a VR place in Manchester, and oh man, I felt so ill afterwards and stuff. I'm not sure if it's because I wear glasses and stuff, but it just made me feel nauseous being in that whole thing.
Some people's brains just don't work with it because they're constantly going, this ain't right.
Yeah. Well, it's seriously, man. Like the worst bit, like they did this thing where they did 2 ones where you feel like you're gonna fall, and it's like one where you're on, the pirate ship ride where it goes up and down, it's like that, and it did one like that. But in my mind, and I knew exactly where I was stood on the ground, but I felt like I was on this thing, and I literally was going to puke. I was just like, I'm going to be sick. I am literally going to puke up all over this place. And then the second one was like, you go up in this lift, and then there's a plank, and you've got to walk out in the plank, and you are very aware that you're on a flat ground in a room, but you feel like you're on this plank, and you freak out because you're just like, I don't want to fall, and then you fall, and then the guy says, just walk off the edge. I'm like, no, I'm not walking off the edge. I stepped off the edge by mistake, but even so, it was just like, it freaks you out. You actually feel like you're gonna fall and stuff, and it's just like VR is like witchcraft. Witchcraft.
It's no difference to some of the stuff they used to do with like immersive experiences. It's like the infamous Aliens at Trocadero Centre. Do you remember that one?
No,
I never got a chance to go there, but they took over like a whole section of it.
Oh, the Aliens Encounter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the stories about that you hear are hilarious. I mean, like the US Marines that went there drunk on leave, and they had a thing where they planted someone in your group, and an alien was supposed to drop down through the top of the lift and drag them out. Except they had like 7 people in this lift, and 5 of them were drunk American Marines on leave. So he dropped down to grab the guy they planted in there, and they dragged this poor bugger in his foam rubber suit out of the lift hatch, and sat on him and said, "We caught him. What do we do? We get a reward."
I heard about that actually. Yeah. I heard
the Screaming Woman. I think my favourite is the Screaming Woman. They had a thing where the alien popped out, and this woman was just freaked and started screaming and ran off, and she got lost. And they had like a disguised door where they had a little break room where they could take off their costumes, have a cup of coffee, and just chill out. And she managed to open the door. They must have run into the door, and it popped open. She ran into this room, and she stopped, and she kind of like, what the fuck? You know, there's like a grubby sink and a fridge freezer and stuff like that. And the guy that was in there on his break picked up his hand, put it back on, and he walked up and he tapped her on the shoulder, and she fainted.
Man, I love it. My girlfriend is like, she does not deal with frights in any way, shape or form. She's the sort of girl who, if anything's slightly scary, she freaks out and starts screaming at the TV and stuff like that. So I'm determined to get her to go to one of these sort of like fright night things, you know, where people chase you and stuff, just to watch her freak out.
There are easier ways to get dumped or killed, you know this. Or both.
Oh, it's hilarious! It's hilarious, though.
Back in 2014, there was the Aliens Anniversary at the National Space Centre in Leicester, where some of the guys from Alien Encounter did their own kind of small version of Alien Encounter in this some of the suites there. And I was chatting to some of the guys behind it afterwards, and said they've had people literally just screaming and shouting because they get as much of the props done as accurately as possible there, and the sound's a bit off, but yeah, it just really is an immersive experience. But apparently one time there's this one bit at the end where one of the Marines trying to decode the door lock, and like punching the numbers, and he keeps getting it wrong, and there's alien creeping up behind us. And apparently this one time, the guy, one of the visitors, shoved the guy, the Marine, out of the way, booted the door open, and just legged it, and kept running.
I went to like they had like one of these sort of like midnight cinema type things, and they had aliens playing, and they had people dressed up as Marines and stuff, and like during the film, like people dressed up as aliens would pop out and stuff and freak you out, and that was pretty cool. That was really good. That was quite immersive. But yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to freaking my girlfriend out. She watched Aliens and freaked out at that, so I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to take her to one of these, you know, those farms where they do the corn mazes and people sort of jump out at you and stuff. I'm just like, yeah, I might bring my GoPro just so I got something.
If you want to
take it to, do they still do the zombie run things at that shopping centre? Do you think you could get away with getting her into there without realising where she is?
Yeah. Hey, babe, I'm just taking to this awesome shopping centre in Reading.
I was going to say, if you want a good short film to freak her out with, one of my pals just wrote this film. It's on Shudder called Host.
Okay.
And it was all shot during lockdown. So they did it on Zoom. So it's like the premise is it's like 5 mates do like a Zoom seance. It's really good. It's really, really good. 56 minutes long. It's on Shudder, and it. I think
I've seen a trailer for that.
Yeah, last time I checked, I think it was the highest rated horror on Rotten Tomatoes for 2020.
What's it called?
Host.
Right, I'm gonna go that. I'm gonna write that down.
You can
Are
get
you a bit of a horror fan?
free trial. I'm a huge horror fan.
Okay.
We got a guy who does stuff with us sometimes called Dave Boy. He loves his horror films. Like if you get him into horror films, he's off on one of the stuff. He's off on it. Like, he loves it. Are you into sort of, what about more of the old school type horror stuff, or?
Yeah, so I guess my favourites are Halloween, the classic Halloween, the John Carpenter and Dawn of the Dead, Romero. But yeah, like everything from classic Hammer movies and the Universal monsters and stuff through to modern stuff. But there's not many modern horrors kind of I dig, but Get Out was really good, and the Haunting of Hill House TV series was spot on.
Do you know what? I liked it, but I think it wasn't as scary as people made it out to be. Like, it was freaky, but it wasn't scary, if you get what I mean.
I think atmospheric. It was more atmospheric.
Yeah, more atmospheric.
Yeah. Shocks.
Yeah.
A couple of jump scares in there to,
It's just, good jump scares.
New series, a spin-off from that House of Bly house, I think, just got announced.
Yeah.
Well, not just announced, they've now started showing posters and stills from that. So that's coming before October, I think, on Netflix.
I think one of the scariest films I've ever seen was Event Horizon.
Oh god, yeah.
Man, that film freaked me out. I had nightmares. I remember going to see it in the cinema, and then literally not being able to sleep, and it's just like it's so that was so like just visceral, and it was just.
It's also worse if you're a 40k fan, because you're pre-primed for all that kind of shit in the back of your head. It's basically a 40k film with just dressed up slightly differently. But a lot of the concepts of like hell being the way you travel and all that.
It's basically kind of a combination of Solaris meets Hellraiser.
Yeah. I like more of the psychological stuff where it's like you're not 100% sure about what's going. Like I quite liked the first Blair Witch film. I thought that was pretty good, simply because it was very sort of like, because I live, when I was growing up, like, and I don't believe in any of this stuff, but like as a child when I was growing up, I did, and I live in a haunted forest in Northern Ireland. Well, I used to live in a haunted forest in Northern Ireland, and I remember going to see Blair Witch, and my car got a flat right at this place in the village I come from called Ballycarry, where they used to hang people and stuff, and I got a flat tire right there, and I was like, oh my god, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me and stuff, and I've never changed the tires so quickly in my entire life. I don't even know if I did it properly, but I was just like, yeah, that's on, let's go, and it was just like
nothing came off, right?
Freaked out.
I think for me, my favourite has to be Ringu. The original.
The original one's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh god, I love that film. I have such good memories. I had a couple of friends that were obsessed with it, and their oldest daughter, who was about 16 or 17, watched it with us one time, and it was me and my friend, her husband, and Gemma, the daughter. And as we got to the very end, that very last bit where they watched that last video, as the phone rang, I've looked across and both of us have pulled out our mobile phone, and one of us rang her mobile that was in her pocket, and one of us rang the house phone at the same time, and we had to peel her off the ceiling. And she tried to beat the crap out of both of us, which was quite impressive when she was like 5'2".
Have you?
I still remember watching that for the first time, and that really freaked me out. When that have you seen the film Audition?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Takeshi, is that Takeshi Mike film or something?
Yeah.
Just that lassie at the end. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Like, oh no, I'm not watching.
I want to watch that. I want now.
There's the Babadook. I thought was pretty good. Have you seen the Babadook?
Seen the Babadook? Yeah.
I thought that was quite good because it was freaky and it was scary, but it had like the meaning behind it. It was something at the end. It was like pretty straight. It had a like strange sort of twist at the end, but the meaning behind when you start reading into it, you're like, oh my god, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I love that sort of thing. Like, have you ever seen Ghost Stories? Have you seen it was a stage show Is it Nyman? What's his second name? He's from League of Gentlemen, and he does Darren Brown's stage shows. Nyman, something Nyman, I can't remember. But he did Ghost Stories. Have you seen it?
Haven't seen that. No,
Yep.
I'm aware of it. I think.
Yeah,
it's got Simon Pegg in it. Am I thinking it's got Simon Pegg in it?
No, it's got your man Whitehouse from the Fast Show, and it's got I can't remember his name. Plays Bilbo Baggins. In say it again.
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman, yeah. And it's basically 3 ghost stories, and this guy is basically his character is he's a skeptic, and he basically goes to these 3 people about their ghost stories, and they are so like proper old school type ghost stories, and it's really, really freaky, and it's really, really, there's a lot of underlying stuff going on, but there is one of the best twists at the end, and you'll either hate it, you'll either think it's the worst thing that's ever, or you'll think it's genius. I thought it was genius, like to the point where I wrote a massive article on it, because I was just like, I loved it so much. I thought it was so good, but definitely worth Ghost Stories, definitely worth it. Really good. If you like Darren Brown and you like that sort of, trick of the mind type stuff, then 100% worth a watch. Really good.
I managed to see him live once, and you're just going, what? Just the way he was playing you the whole time and stuff.
Yeah, man, the guy is an absolute witch. He just he can just, he can literally, it's just mad. It just shows you how much you can manipulate a human brain, basically. How easy it is, how people like him can manipulate people, because that's all it is. He basically makes people think things just by sort of planting stuff there and then. It's just
suggestion and behavioural knowledge.
Yeah, and because he had his 20th anniversary, I think. He did a show recently, and he was going on about all the different things he did, and I think he's amazing. It's so good. The one he did one where he changed an atheist into a Christian by basically implanting stuff into her head, and she starts crying, and thinks she saw some visions of like Jesus and stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, he literally just brainwashed this woman. And then there was one where he did the it was the the ghost hunter in America, and he goes over to America, basically just to sort of kind of, not to disprove it, but basically to sort of see where this guy was coming from, and that was super interesting. That was really, really, really good and stuff, because this guy was so like literally nice guy, but he was just like ghosts are real, and he was sort of like going on, and Darren Brown was like, well, it could mean this and could mean this, and it was great. I love him. I think he's amazing. Really good. Right, okay. Well, we've been on for about an hour and a half, so I think we're probably going to leave it there. But it has been an absolute pleasure, Greig. I really, really, really enjoyed your banter, and it's Darth Elvis, 100% amazing. I'm so glad that I was so glad that Pete brought my attention to it, because it's very good. Really enjoy it. Is there any sort of websites or anything that people need to check out first? Yeah,
I mean, you'll find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Darth Elvis, twitter.com/Darth_Elvis. Somebody beat me to that one. Instagram Darth Elvis 77, YouTube Darth Elvis something, and I'm www.darthelvis.co.uk. So I'm everywhere pretty much.
And you don't have any shows or anything coming up, live stuff or anything you need to sort of?
I'm doing an interview and I think a couple of music plays on Sunday this weekend for this Forcecast weekend, which this was meant to be Anaheim weekend, Celebration Anaheim, so they've organised this Forcecast thing for the weekend. So I'll be sharing details of that on Facebook and everywhere towards the weekend. And after that, I think I'm doing another show and interview for Dr. Squee in September. But that's it at the moment, I think, until I can get back out and rocking and rolling in the venues. But
Absolutely.
more Darth Elvis and Friends music videos are on the way. Doing some more recording this week, and should hopefully have some stuff out in the next week or two.
Awesome sauce. Right, well, thank you very much, Greig. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure.
Yeah. For tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Peter Ray Allison.
Good night and stay safe.
Mark Canty.
Be seeing you.
And Darth Elvis himself, Greg Robertson.
Hot dang. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna press this button. Ooh. Oh, it's not working. We're just gonna stop.